So here's a reaction to the second reading of How to Lose a Planet, the Afro-Future epic. First thing we'll talk about is I, at first, had hesitated to do that reading while wearing my do-rag because of like internal white supremacy. But I think one of the reasons why I did do it is, first, I think art should be personal, and I wear my do-rag when I go to bed to keep my locks fresh. But also, like, I think a week ago, I went to this bar. This bartender was wearing a do-rag. I was like, they let you wear a do-rag at work? And he's like, yeah, they just started. And I realized, I had just read articles that day or the day before, Massachusetts just passed a law where you can't fire people anymore for the way their hair grows out of their head because people were doing that. So that's kind of like what I mean by like the internalized white supremacy. I guess I felt like, oh yeah, this isn't proper for me to wear a do-rag. Forget that, man, I wear my do-rag. So I decided to do that because like that's just part of like my process. Sometimes I wrote part of this book while wearing my do-rag. So there's that. Second, Dani is an interesting character to me because she was based loosely, and I mean like very loosely, on, at least Dani's presentation is based loosely on Snoop from The Wire. That's what I meant by the raspy sing-song voice. And I don't know based is the word, but like Snoop from The Wire definitely was the inspiration for like Dani's presentation, like not her personality. But another thing that's interesting about that is like the dialogue that I use for Dani. So I try to create different types of dialogue for different characters throughout the course of the story. And there are several factors that came into play. I can't talk about them all right now in this one video, although I should probably do a video that really breaks down my approach because it gets pretty intricate. But I use this book, Screenwriting for Dummies, for dialogue because a screenplay is often just so dialogue heavy. It has some really great tips. So one of them was just within the context of class, right? So thinking about it like, and I'm a person who grew up with not much money at all. And so I mean, I definitely like learned how to code switch my own house because my mom was raised in a country that was colonized by the British, so she's all about the King's English, and my dad's Black American, so I could like chop it up with slang with him. But so one thing as far as class is like poor people don't have a lot of time, and so that plays out in a lot of ways, including the way we might talk. Like we might use simple language because we're just trying to get to the point where you'll see certain characters in How to Lose a Planet who are dumb wealthy and they bloviate and they use polysyllabic words because they have time and they're used to having time and they're used to people using up their time to listen to them. So they'll go on and on. They might say use 3 sentences to say what 1 sentence could have done. So that's just like a little dialogue tip for you there. And I'll probably have to do something a little more in depth because there's actually really interesting things about dialogue that really make a story sound nice. That was interesting. That was actually one of the compliments I got from one of the agents who rejected the story. They said that they loved how I fully committed to dialogue. Like I fully committed. This person's gonna talk like this person's gonna talk like that. And even how the narrator has like their own kind of voice. And I did. I really wanted the characters to feel differently. So that's something else that I think worked out. Something that might not have worked out. I just realized when I rewatched the video, I might have misused the word. So there's a part where I write, likely her unit was moving into Moonwa territory to push enemy forces farther from Quest City borders. So farther and further, I think I should have used further. I don't know. But there's actually a slight difference in the usage of those words. It's kind of like when talking about quantity and you say there's less water, you don't say there's fewer water because fewer is reference to individual units. So you would say there are fewer glasses of water, but not fewer water. You'd say there's less water. That's how, so fewer and less kind of have a similar relationship to farther and further. So I might have messed up there. I don't know. I actually haven't looked it up to find out. It just didn't sound right when I read it out loud. But it is what it is. And I guess the lesson I'm taking from that is like, your art isn't always going to be perfect, may not ever be perfect, but it can still be pretty cool. All right, doses.